Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Marisol Nichols podcast. Today, my guest is Nicole Lopez. Now, who is Nicole? Nicole is the Global Director of Youth Safety Policy at Meta. I'm going to say that again. She is the Global Director of Youth Safety Policy at Meta, which is Instagram, Facebook. She exclusively works on youth for safety issues, including parental involvement. And she's here today to talk about all the new amazing things that Meta is doing to help put parents in the driver's seat and help keep kids safe. And welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you, Marisol. It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you again. Okay,
Yeah.
So you were in South Dakota.
I was.
On this legislation that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
But the first thing that didn't shock me, but when you said it was the high was -3, I've been there. I grew up in Chicago.
And I am not winter-proofed at all. And I literally had to drive to my parents' house to dig through my mom's closet to find a warm coat that would keep me alive in a high of -3 weather. It worked.
Oh,
but
good.
Yeah, I was unprepared is the point. I had to go digging.
No, it's like a shock to your system.
It really is.
From anywhere. I remember one time I was coming from LA back to Chicago. It was cold for LA. It was like 40 something degrees. And I got to Chicago and it was -40. And I was like, this is 100-degree difference or whatever the math is on that. And I think that's the last time I went to visit during the winter. I'm like, I'm done. I'm out.
I'm not made for it. And I was going to say everybody who survives these winters, I'm incredibly impressed by them. But yeah, no, it was exciting. Like setting aside the cold weather, it was fun to go to South Dakota. It was actually my second time there in the last 6 months. So I was back to testify.
Okay. So now for testifying, so let's talk, because I also testified for you guys, and I love this thing that is being proposed. So can you walk my audience through, because this is to me a giant solution for what parents run into of how in the world do you keep your kids safe on the internet and social media and all of that. So this is a great tool. So walk us through. Tell us what it does.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're a parent. I'm a parent to tweens. And I think anybody, when they're wearing their parent hat, this solution makes total sense. So essentially, we know that first, parents feel overwhelmed. There have been a ton of reports on it. Every parent that we talk to in my role at Meta says the same thing, which is when it comes to their teens being online and even their kids, they don't have oversight or necessarily know what their kids are doing on their devices and online. And we also know, Marisol, that there was a recent University of Michigan study that came out, I'm going to say a year ago, and it said that on average, teens are on 40 apps a week. And that's the average, right?
I believe that.
Yeah. So, and I see it with my tweens. I mean, they hop from app to app to app. And so the idea here is that parents want to have control and to really be in charge when it comes to what their teens are doing online. So the solution that we are advocating for, and actually what's exciting is that a number of states have picked this up and are running with it, but we want an easy way for parents to age verify and also give parental consent anytime that their teen under 16 wants to download an app. And we believe that this should happen at the app store level, meaning when you as a parent buy your teen their first phone, you set the phone up with your teen, you as the parent are hopefully going to provide an accurate age for your teen. So you'll say, yeah, my teen is 13, 14, 15 years old, whatever their age is. You then connect through your account on your phone, their account to yours, which establishes the parent-child relationship. And then anytime that your teen wants to download an app, they can't do it without your permission if they're under 16. And you as a parent, instead of going to a bunch of different apps and sharing privacy invasive information with who knows what the app is, you actually already have that information you've shared with Apple or Google, right, at the App Store level. So you get that ping and you say, yeah, my 13-year-old is ready to download Instagram, or no, she's not mature enough to be on that app. And if you actually do give permission, all that is shared with the app is your permission and then the age range of the kid. So it could be under 13, 13 to 15 years old, or 16 and up. And then the app is able to put the teen into the age appropriate experience. So it's really easy, and it puts the parent in charge and gives them visibility over what their teen is doing or wants to do in one place. So I think it's a really efficient and easy solution. So we're pushing for it.
I think it's huge. And just to sort of simplify that, like as a parent, I use these different, like, say, okay, there's like an app called Bark that supposedly, monitors your child's activity online. I used it for a second. I didn't really understand it because I consider myself somewhat tech savvy. And I also was like, wait, what do you like? I don't understand this. I'm sorry. Yeah. And different other solutions trying to just plain and simple keep my daughter safe online. Yeah. And I even had, Antigone Davis on. Yeah. And this is before Meta rolled out their new automatic settings, which we're going to get to because I freaking love that. But this is before that. And Antigone, for those of you that don't know, is like literally the head of global safety for the entire planet.
She's my boss. She's my boss and she's amazing. Yes.
Yeah. She's like, you've seen her name in newspapers and news and everything having to do with Meta. And I was like, okay, Antigone, walk me through how do I take my phone right here and set up parental controls on Facebook, on Instagram, on the whole metaverse. And it's not easy. Yeah. And then can you imagine, you have to do it for Instagram, you have to do it for Facebook, you have to do it for Twitter, you have to do it for Discord, you have to do it for Snapchat, you have to do it for Minecraft, you have to do it for every single solitary app. I don't know any parents that have the time to do it and understand how to do it, including myself.
Yeah.
So what I love about this solution for, any parent out there who's buying a phone at the App Store, you can't turn on a phone without downloading the system. No matter if it's an iPhone, no matter if it's an Android, no matter what it is, you have to connect to the App Store and download the operating system. And what this does in very simple terms of what Nicole was saying is that it automatically sets the phone up. This phone is for a teen.
Yep.
So all the settings on every app and everything is already automatically included in what you download.
And I think what's really important about the solution too, because, every company has its own version of ensuring that they're building age-appropriate experiences. And I'll talk about Instagram's teen accounts in a minute. But I think the beauty to this solution, Marisol, is that it's really putting the parent in a position of deciding on whether their teen is actually ready for that age-appropriate experience, right? And so we know that not all teens are the same. We know that parents know their teens best. And so if the parent feels like the teen is not ready to be on Discord or the teen is not ready to be on a gaming platform, it really puts them in that position, but it does it in an easy way. And then the other point I think that's critical here is that once they enter their teen's age, that same age is reliably and consistently shared across any app that the teen wants to download and that the parental consent is given for. So, we always struggle with how do you know that a teen is a teen? And how do you know that they're not lying about their age? And by really putting the parent in the driver's seat of sharing the teen's age, that's going to be the most accurate rendition of how old the teen is. And then the apps still have to make sure that for teens who are savvy or who are able to bypass whatever process and mechanism we put in place, because teens will find ways to misrepresent their age, it doesn't mean that the apps don't continue to do the work on our back end to catch people who lie about their age. So it's really, my view of this is Apple and Google are situated. They have the existing infrastructure. It's easy for them to create this, but it's a collaboration across all the apps in the ecosystem to make sure that we are supporting parents and keeping teens safe.
I love it so much. And look, just to be clear, like you mentioned, like each app is going to have its own thing, but this bypasses all of that. And it's a simple thing. It's not a catch-all, but it's a very simple way for parents to be somewhat in the driver's seat when it comes to their kid's child being online. Yeah. And that was my biggest thing. It's like, look, I could talk to my daughter all I want, and I did, and I do. But eventually she was going to download TikTok. And eventually, there was nothing in place either 10 years ago. So everything is just, being shown. And you have to like, this doesn't bypass conversations that parents still need to have with their kids, but it does put, I like to say, like, walls in place.
Yeah,
it
it's
puts
an added
barriers
layer
in place. Yep. And we need all of that. Now, there's something that, since I had Antigone on, rolled out that I absolutely love. And I don't even, like, when I talk to people about it, they're like, really? I didn't know they did that. So I'm beyond thrilled, because what it also does is it really shows that Meta is actually doing something about this. And I know you guys sometimes get the raw end of the stick, and there's I don't know how many employees there. So all I know is that you're doing something, and you're putting your money where your mouth is. So please explain what it is that Meta rolled out for kids that I love.
I love it too. And I'm smiling because I'm really proud of our Instagram's teen accounts. It was a huge, significant moment for us. So essentially, let me take a step back and just quickly tell you and your listeners about the work that I do, because I am on the global, safety team, but I specialize in all things youth safety and well-being. And so I work with a team of subject matter experts, and we are working alongside our product and policy teams anytime that they're thinking through a feature or a policy change that impacts youth. And this applies on everything ranging from bullying and harassment to suicide and self-injury, eating disorders, what is age-appropriate content, and then importantly here, what role should parents play, and how do we make it easier on parents when it comes to supporting their teens online? And we also, part of my team's job is to not only provide internal expertise, but it's also to work with external experts. So we have different advisory groups where we bring in a lot of experts across all things impacting youth. And then we also meet with parents, and we talk to them about their needs as well as teens and their needs. So we started, this was over, at least I want to say 8-9 months. We started meeting with parents to understand what their concerns were. And there were thematic, choruses here on what parents care about. And I bet Marisol, some of these will, resonate with you too. But it was first the contact that a teen has online, right? Who is your teen talking with? Second, the content that your teen sees, right? Is it appropriate content? And then third, how much time is your teen spending online, which of course is fiercely debated across every household with kids, right? It's in our house too. So after we started talking with parents, we started thinking through what could we do to meet parent concerns and to make them feel better about the time that their teens are on Instagram. And then also, how do we continue to do the work that we've been doing to keep teens safe? And that was how Teen Accounts was born. So what it is an experience for teens that is guided by parents. And what we're doing is we're defaulting. So basically, you don't have to do anything. All teens are defaulted into restrictions that impact who they talk to, what they see, and how much time they're spending online. And the idea here is that we not only are defaulting them into all of these built-in protections, but I think what's really important is when we spoke to parents and also experts, we recognize that every teen is different, but there are key maturity differences between, say, a 13-year-old who's maybe in 8th grade and a 16 or 17-year-old who's driving, maybe works a job after school, maybe is taking a lot of classes and applying to colleges, right? Like a 13-year-old generally is going to be in a different developmental place than a 17-year-old. So the decision that we made was that 13 to 15-year-olds are stuck in these restrictions and cannot wiggle out of them unless their parent supervises them. And then you talked earlier about like how important it is to have these conversations. If the parent and the teen agree that the teen's restrictions should be relaxed, it's up to the parent to make that decision. And then when it comes to older teens, like 16 and 17-year-olds, they also are in all of these restrictions, but they can relax them if they want to. So those were the kind of guiding principles that created Instagram's teen accounts. And I can talk to you about the specific
that was my next
restrictions if
question.
you want me to.
Yeah. So, okay. So when you say it defaults to restrictions, so talk to me like, let's say 13 to 15-year-olds. What are those restrictions that are automatically defaulted when they have an Instagram account?
Yeah. So for 13 to 15-year-olds, to be clear, they are defaulted into the same restrictions as older teens. So for all teens, because I think this is important for all teens, first, private accounts, all defaulted into private accounts. Younger teens cannot get out of it. Second area is messaging restrictions. So the only people who can message you are people that you're following or connected to, meaning that whether it's an adult or even a teen, they can't just willy-nilly send you messages unless you're actually connected to them. And I think one of the changes here is obviously you want to be really careful when it comes to adults, but we also know that there are bullying and harassment issues from teen to teen. There could be, exploitation issues that happen when it comes to teens. So we're putting them in messaging restrictions across the board, whether it's an adult or a teen who's trying to message a teen. Another area that I think is really important when it comes to who you're interacting with and how is hidden words. This is an anti-bullying free feature that has existed, but we are now defaulting all teens into it, meaning that we're filtering out all potentially problematic and harassing words. And we give teens the additional opportunity to add words that are specific to them, meaning if they've been bullied, it's very context driven. So you can add whatever words, phrases, emojis into the hidden words feature. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you because hidden words, I don't think, like when I tell my friend, I'm like, I didn't know that was a feature. It's the best feature. It's built in. So anyone who has an Instagram, you can go into your settings, go scroll down to hidden words, click on it, and you can add any words you want in there, and no one will ever be able to say those words in your comments. Yep. So for example, let's say it's a kid like bullying or something, or let's say you gained a little weight. You can put hidden words in there. No one's allowed to call you fat.
Yeah. Or even like cupcake.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'll put, because of the work that I do in trafficking and sexual exploitation and all of that, I will put, don't say the word penis. You can't put the word this, X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z. Because I don't want that crap in my feed.
Totally. It's in your feed comments. And also in your messages too. If they try to send you a message with those words, you won't see it either. It is such a powerful, compelling way to combat harassment. So that's another automatic filter for all teens. And then also relatedly, when it comes to content, we're defaulting all teens into the strictest setting of our sensitive content control. So of course, if content violates our policies, we remove it. We also hide what we call age inappropriate content from teens because we recognize that we need to go further for teens. So for example, if there's content that might, be somewhat problematic but doesn't violate our policies, adults can see that. But if it falls into this category of, teens shouldn't see that content no matter what, even if their friends post it, automatically remove it. And then when it comes to the content we recommend to teens, we're again going further and hiding even more content from them through this change. So that's another additional protection that's just built in. And then it comes to time management, we know that teens need sleep. That is, a very, I remember being a teen and needing to sleep in. So we are automatically muting all notifications for all teens from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's called sleep mode. If somebody sends you a message, I actually use it. Adults can use it too, but we're defaulting teens into it. There's a little icon that tells people that you're offline. If they send you a message, they'll get an automatic message saying, Nicole is in sleep mode. She'll respond to you tomorrow or whatever it says. And the teen won't actually see those messages. They won't get automatically popped up on the teen's
That's so great.
feed. So that's another one. Yeah. So anyway, these changes I think are awesome. And we're really excited. We know that it may impact how teens use our apps. We've gotten some feedback that some teens don't love it because it is more restrictive than what they want. But on the other side of the house, parents have a peace of mind that these are protections that are built in. And for the parents who don't want to turn on parent supervision because they're really busy, or maybe you and I were talking earlier about like how there's just so many apps that your teens are on and you just can't handle another app where you have to supervise it. The great thing here is it's designed in a way where younger teens don't need to have parent supervision on because these restrictions stick.
Yeah. When did you go? Okay, so this is automatic in everyone's phone. This rolled out. When did this roll out?
September of 2024. And we started in the US, UK, Australia, and Canada. And now we're actually starting to roll it out throughout the rest of the world. So we started out smaller. We did our testing. We rolled it out slowly to make sure that it worked. And now we're doing it on a global level. Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. I've even learned the hard way because I have a lot of teen followers. And, and I'm like all gung-ho. Let me talk about trafficking and this and that. And let me help people. And I'll just say it all. And then I was like, oh, no one's seeing. Oh, it's because it's this restrictions are very good. So I've learned, okay, let's take out hashtags. It's like human trafficking, for God's sakes, and take off these things that in the wrong, even though I might be well-meaning, kids don't need to always know every single thing. Even though I'm trying to talk to parents, it doesn't matter. So I know that these restrictions work, and I'm very glad that they do. They work very, very well. So now, okay, so I went and I testified it was South Dakota, right?
Yeah, it was South Dakota. You were there in October. I remember your testimony. So yes.
I never heard. How did that go?
So things shifted. So when you and I testified in October, there were a couple of different bills that were variations of App Store verification and consent. I think it was a phase of trying to understand what the different positions were and what the bills might look like. And then wholly separate from the bill that we had been pushing for in the fall, they dropped those bills. And then there was a sponsor who introduced her bill, which was South Dakota Senate Bill 180. She introduced it, and it's modeled after a Utah bill that's actually picking up momentum right now. It's passing through, I think it just passed through the House in Utah, but this Senate sponsor drafted a bill and introduced it. So I went out to testify. There were a lot of people who were there live. It was a packed room testifying. There were people who Zoomed in earlier this week. And unfortunately, the bill didn't go forward. But, it's one step in the legislative process. And it was, frankly, from my perspective, really exciting to see how many parents and parent groups supported the bill. And it's, I think there are 8 other states that have formally introduced App Store legislation similar to what Utah and South Dakota introduced. And apparently there are a number of other states that are thinking through what App Store legislation they may introduce. So the point is, it's appealing and it's picking up speed. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, what's the possible downside in making phones and electronic devices safe for kids?
Yeah,
starting at the App Store, and
and
it's not, like I said, it's not a catch-all. So what's the? I don't understand the problem with it. But for any listener out there, maybe what we can do, Nicole, is on my website, slaveryfreeworld.org, or even marisolnichols.com, we can put the states that have these legislations introduced so that anyone interested can call their state representative or whatever and go, hey, we want this.
I love that idea. I love that idea. Happy to partner with you on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that politicians like to blame Meta, but come on, do something to help, for God's sakes. Just getting on your high horse and complaining isn't changing anything. So now this is actually good legislation that can actually make a difference. And it's really frustrating. And, I've been in this fight since Backpage was on, and the big internet were like, no, we don't want to change anything. And we don't want to do anything. And it doesn't matter that kids are getting hurt. It's astonishing to me. And my honest to goodness feeling on this is just that enough people don't know about it. So they're allowed to get away with it. And the more people that know about it and are like, of course we want this, then this stuff will start going through on a big, big, big scale.
We
it's a no-brainer.
We need to listen to parents.
Yeah.
That's my perspective. And there was a recent Morning Consult poll that showed that 80% of parents across party lines support App Store legislation. So the question is, if parents want this and it's an easy solution that's pragmatic and the infrastructure exists and Apple and Google already collect this information, just to quote you, it is a no-brainer. So I'm happy to give you a list of the states that have passed it.
Yeah. Would love that.
And in terms
of the states that have introduced it.
Yeah.
As well.
I joined Meta 2.5 years ago. And, I come from a background of, I was a prosecutor for almost 9 years. I have really devoted the bulk of my career to working on youth issues, both in the private sector as well as the public sector. And the progress that I've seen in the 2.5 years, we only touched on a sliver of it in our talk today, but there are so many people and so many resources that go into keeping youth safe. And it's across all of the areas that my team works on. But, recently we also did a ton of work to address sextortion, which is on the rise.
It's a whole thing that I talk about.
Yeah. That's and so there's a lot that we've been doing to build out, in-app protections that are automatic for teens. We also do a number of educational initiatives on sextortion. We had a recent PSA in October to educate teens and their parents on what to look for, because I think people don't necessarily know it's happening. So there's all of the work that we're doing to fight sextortion. There's all of the work that we're doing on the child safety side. There's work that we're doing to support teens when it comes to resetting their recommendations so that they can start clean in terms of what content is recommended to them. So my point is, there's a lot that we do, and the progress is just astounding. So it gives me hope in that, I'm seeing progress every day.
You just joined 2.5 years ago. Was there even a division?
There was.
For youth safety? There was. Okay.
Yeah. This has existed for a while, so it's not new. But what I can say is the work that I've seen in the last 2.5 years has really just, continued at a clip that is impressive.
That's great. That's really great. It's funny because social media is such a blessing and a curse. And it's sort of like, I kind of akin it to AI right now, where it's okay, this is available everywhere, go. And, wait a minute, there's going to be issues. There's going to be problems. There's going to be all this stuff, but you sort of, I guess, learn as you go when it comes to technology. And at least I can, say firsthand, I think I met you, then I must have met you right when you joined.
I met you within 2 months. It was at a human exploitation event where you and I were both there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 2.5 years ago.
It was 2.5 years, right? I mean, immediately.
Yeah.
But it's really heartwarming to see people like you and that Meta employs people like you and others that I've met that are doing this type of work and going, how can we make this fun and safe for teens and fun and safe for kids and help put parents in the driver's seat? And it's vital. Is there a way that, anyone listening, usually parents or kids, can actually write in to Meta or email or say hey, this is my feedback, or these are my suggestions. How do you get that line straight in? Is there a way to do that?
We do. So we do there are a number of ways that you can reach out. First, we do have our family center. So I would encourage every parent who's listening to your podcast to go to the family center, because there are a number of ways to engage with the content that our experts have written, and also following up on how teen accounts work and what does the sextortion PSA look like, and how do you have these sometimes sticky and awkward conversations with your teens. That's all in our family center. So I would say to go there. In terms of how we interact with parents, we do a number of engagements, and I'm happy, once I have a sense of what the engagements will look like, I'm happy to share them with your listeners. But we host parent events. We also have collaborated with the PTA in a lot of different states. I actually just spoke at a PTA event 2 weeks ago in Sacramento. So there were a lot of parents there. So we do a lot of in-person engagements. People have questions, Marisol. I'm happy to always come back on and answer any questions that your listeners have, like follow-up questions. We would love that. Yeah.
We'd love that. That's great. Yeah. Well, good. Thank you so much. This is really exciting. I'm excited to see this go through, and also any help that I can give, any other states, any place where I can testify and help support this. You know my number.
It's so good to see you.
It's very good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Thank you for listening to the Marisol Nichols podcast, and please do not forget to click like and subscribe. And a big shout out to WD Hahn for our theme song, Something's Gotta Change. See you next time.